The human woke to a strange humming silence, the kind that made the skin on the back of his neck prickle. He didn't know how he had arrived here one moment. He was walking across his home planet's research outpost, and the next he was lying on a smooth, metallic floor that seemed to glow faintly under his back. The air smelled sharp, like ozone mixed with something earthy, something alive. His head throbbed, and his vision blurred for a few seconds as he tried to take in the surroundings. The room was enormous, circular and alien, with walls that curved seamlessly into the ceiling, panels pulsing faint light like the slow rhythm of a heartbeat. And then he heard it, a whisper, soft and deliberate, echoing in his mind more than through the air. "You're ready now," a voice breathed. He froze, eyes snapping toward the sound, but no one was there. The words weren't frightening, not exactly. They carried curiosity, weight, and a strange, calm authority. His pulse jumped, a mixture of fear and curiosity tightening in his chest. "Who's there?" he asked, voice trembling. But the whisper came again, closer this time, almost as if it was inside his head. "You're ready now," he repeated, and with it a flicker of movement in the corner of the room drew his gaze. She appeared slowly, stepping from shadow into light, delicate and pale, unlike anything human. Her eyes glimmered with a soft silver, luminous and unreadable, and her hair floated slightly as though suspended in water, each strand shimmering faintly, moved gracefully, almost gliding, but there was a tension in her body, a trembling that hinted at anticipation or perhaps power. The human swallowed hard, unsure whether to step back or move forward, drawn in by the hypnotic calm in her gaze, ready for. "What?" he finally asked, though the words sounded weak even to him. She tilted her head slightly, her lips parting, just enough to whisper again, but this time closer, almost brushing the air near his ear. "You will see soon." A shiver ran down his spine. He wanted to ask more questions, but every instinct told him that the answers would come in time and that pressing now could be dangerous. The room seemed to respond to her presence. Panels brightened as she approached, walls pulsing with light, casting shifting patterns on the smooth floor. Something in him stirred, a subtle echo of recognition, though he could not place why. Her whispers seemed to guide his heartbeat, his thoughts, even his breathing. He felt both terrified and compelled to obey. He rose cautiously to his feet, wincing as a wave of dizziness hit him. She didn't speak yet, but her gaze held him like a tether, gentle but firm, impossible to break. She raised a hand slightly, and the lights in the room followed the motion, highlighting symbols on the walls that seemed to shift and shimmer, unreadable but strangely familiar. He realized then that this was no ordinary room, and she was no ordinary being. Something about her presence made the air electric, like the quiet before a storm. He had been brought here for a purpose, and she was the key, but the key to what he did not yet know. I don't understand, he admitted, taking another cautious step. Voice seemed to ripple through the room, and for a moment, her body trembled subtly, a quiver that almost mirrored his own fear. It was a shiver that spoke more than words, a reaction that hinted at a connection deeper than he could comprehend. She was aware of him, yes, but more than that, she was aware of him, his thoughts, his hesitation, his uncertainty, every word. Every movement seemed to draw her closer to understanding him, and vice versa. The whisper came again, softer this time, almost intimate. "You ready?" A strange warmth spread through his chest, though he had no idea why. The words carried weight, promise, and a hint of inevitability. He wanted to question her, to demand explanations, but the moment their eyes locked, he realized it was futile. Answers would come, but only when the time was right. The room seemed to pulse with anticipation, the faint hum of machinery or life matching the rhythm of their breaths. He'd never felt so exposed, yet so strangely secure, in the presence of a being he barely understood. She stepped closer, trembling slightly but moving with purpose, and for the first time, he noticed the faint shimmer of energy radiating from her hands, subtle and delicate, brushing the air like the first touch of a breeze. He felt drawn toward her, compelled by something beyond fear or reason, and yet every step forward made him question his own sanity. What did she mean by ready? And why did it feel as though a part of him had already answered without knowing? Whisper floated again, the words wrapping around him. You are ready now. And in that moment, standing in the alien chamber, heart hammering, eyes fixed on the glowing girl, he realized the adventure he had unknowingly stepped into had already begun. Whatever lay ahead, whatever challenges and revelations awaited, the moment of truth had arrived and he had no idea what he was truly ready for. The alien girl moved with quiet grace, her glowing form leading him through a corridor that seemed alive, pulsing softly beneath his feet. The human followed cautiously, every step echoing in the metallic hallways, which bent and curved in ways that defied normal architecture. Strange symbols flickered along the walls, glowing faintly as she passed, as though responding to her presence. Each symbol seemed to hum in resonance with her, sending tiny vibrations through the floor and into his legs. He shivered not entirely from cold, but from the unexplainable energy surrounding them. Her whisper came again, gentle but firm. Follow. Closely, do not stray. He obeyed, though his mind raced with questions. Every instinct told him to demand answers, to question her strange behavior, but something held him back. Her presence was calming yet commanding, a subtle force that made him aware of every nerve in his body. She was trembling slightly, a faint quiver that seemed to mirror the tension in the air. Yet she moved with certainty, leading him forward as though she had walked these corridors countless times. Every step brought new wonder and subtle danger. The walls shifted slightly, revealing gaps, uneven surfaces, and occasional sparks of energy that danced across the floor. He had to step carefully, following her silently, trusting her instincts over his own understanding. "Why are you guiding me?" he finally whispered, his voice cautious. She turned her head slightly, silver eyes catching the dim glow of the walls. "Because you cannot do this alone," she murmured. Her voice carried an echo of certainty, and he realized that she did not mean merely navigating the corridors. There was a greater purpose, something he could not yet see. Each word she spoke sent ripples through the energy in the walls, subtle pulses that he could feel in his chest, making him both aware of his own heartbeat and the rhythm of the environment. Her trembles, once fear, now felt like markers alerts. That danger or change was near. They rounded a corner. The corridor opened into a larger chamber filled with floating platforms, suspended midair by unseen forces. He froze, staring at the shifting paths that moved slowly, requiring perfect timing to cross. The girl's glow intensified slightly, illuminating the platforms and showing the safest route. She extended a hand toward him, trembling, and whispered, "Step carefully. Listen to the rhythm." He hesitated, then took the first step. As his foot landed, the platform shivered beneath him, responding to his weight, and he felt a subtle surge through the floor, almost as if the chamber was alive. She moved ahead of him, gliding across the floating path with ease, but the faint tremor in her movements told him that even she respected the danger. Each time he stepped, the platform reacted. Every breath, every micro-movement had to be precise. He realized that she was teaching him, not just guiding, but training him to understand the rhythm of this alien world. Her whispers were instructions, her trembles were cues. Every pulse of her glow was a hint toward safety. "Almost there," she murmured, and he noticed her body quivering more noticeably now. The closer they got to the other side, the stronger. The pull of energy became as if the chamber itself resisted their passage. He felt a strange dizziness, a subtle tug at his thoughts, making him question his balance, his decisions, even the reality of the path beneath him. Yet each whisper of hers, soft and deliberate, pulled him forward. Her trembling synchronized with the pulsing floor, and he instinctively matched her rhythm. Step by cautious step, when he finally reached the far side, he exhaled heavily, realizing he had been holding his breath for what felt like minutes. She stood there, her glow now steady but soft, watching him with faintly quivering hands, as if acknowledging the effort he had made. He wanted to speak, to ask why he was being tested. "This way," but she whispered first, "You are learning. The trial is not over, but you are ready for the next step." He frowned, heart still racing, trying to grasp the meaning. Learning what and ready for what? Each corridor, each platform, each tremor in her voice or body seemed to carry significance. He could not yet understand. She had not simply guided him. She had forced him to adapt, to feel, to trust instincts he didn't know he had. And with every step, the bond between them, subtle, intangible, yet undeniable, grew stronger. The chamber settled into silence. The floating platform still, the walls humming softly, and he realized the truth. This was more than a physical challenge. It was a trial of awareness, trust, and connection. She was not only guiding him through the dangers of the alien environment, she was teaching him to perceive, to respond, and to survive in a world that defied reason. And he understood, with a mix of awe and fear, that nothing in his previous life could have prepared him for what lay ahead. Her whisper returned, barely audible. "Come, the next test awaits." And as he followed her into the deeper, darker corridors, the human knew that the adventure had only just begun in that. The mysterious bond between them would define every choice, every step, and every danger yet to come. The corridors grew darker and narrower as they descended deeper into the alien structure. The faint hum of the walls now resonating in his chest with each step. The human could feel it, a subtle pull, almost magnetic, guiding his movements even. Before she whispered, her presence, her glowing form, the trembling of her hands, all combined into an unspoken language he was beginning to understand. Every quiver of her body, every flicker of light along her hair, every faint echo of her whispers carried meaning, teaching him to sense the rhythm of this alien world. "You can feel it now, can't you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Yet it vibrated inside his mind, resonating in a way that made his teeth tingle. He nodded, uncertain if she could see the gesture, or if it was merely a reflex. The strange energy of the walls seemed to react to him differently than before. Where once he had felt out of place and unstable, now there was a subtle synchronization between his heartbeat and the hum around them. He realized that her whispers had begun to shape not just his actions, but his perceptions. A sudden shift in the corridor made him stumble. Panels along the wall slid open, revealing a series of floating energy orbs, each pulsating with an internal light. He froze, unsure of whether to approach or retreat. She trembled slightly beside him, a quiver that seemed to mirror his hesitation, and whispered, "Step with the rhythm. Trust it." Hey. He inhaled sharply, letting her voice guide him. With each step, he felt the energy of the orbs align with his own pulse, a strange yet reassuring sensation. It was as if the structure itself was alive, responding to their movements and her guidance. As they moved deeper, he noticed something even stranger. When she whispered, subtle shivers ran through his body, small involuntary reactions, almost reflexive. It was not fear, it was awareness. He could sense that her words carried more than meaning, they carried influence, shaping his instincts, heightening his senses, and connecting him to the alien environment in ways he could barely comprehend. The trembling in her voice and body seemed to echo through him, guiding him, compelling him to act even when he wasn't sure why. Why? "Why does it feel like you're inside my mind?" he asked, voice shaky but intrigued. She paused, tilting her head, silver eyes gleaming. "Because we are connected, the bond is growing. You're learning to listen. Not just to me, but to the world around us." Her hands trembled again, faint yet deliberate, and he realized each subtle movement was a QAnon instruction disguised. As instinct, he followed, instinctively matching her rhythm, letting the alien energy flow through him, guiding his steps. They entered a vast chamber, walls lined with strange pulsating runes that seemed to shift when observed from different angles. The air vibrated faintly, almost musical, and he felt his pulse synchronize with it. She moved toward a pedestal at the center, trembling but purposeful, and whispered, "Place your hand here. Trust yourself." Approached cautiously, hand hovering above the glowing surface. As soon as he touched it, a shock of energy surged. Through him, not painful, but electrifying. Colors and shapes, patterns of alien logic and thought, flashed through his mind. His breath caught, body shivering involuntarily, and he realized the bond was no longer one-sided. The whispers had awakened something inside him, a resonance he had never known existed. "You're ready," she said softly. The trembling in her voice now mingled with something like pride. Her glow brightened, and he felt the connection deepen. Further, this was not merely guidance anymore. It was an awakening. Every quiver, every whispered word, every subtle movement had been a lesson. And now he could perceive the structure, the energy, even her thoughts with a clarity he had never imagined. He stepped back, awed and slightly shaken, heart racing. The alien world that had once seemed incomprehensible now began to make sense. And he knew the journey ahead would demand every ounce of focus, courage, and trust he could summon. Her trembling, once a mystery, had become a map, a guide, and an unspoken bond that tethered them together in a way both exhilarating and terrifying as they moved forward. Deeper into the unknown, the human realized the truth. He was no longer just following her. He was part of something larger, something alive, something that had been waiting for him all along. And the bond, the trembles, the whispers, the shared rhythm would be the key to surviving the trials yet to come. The corridor opened into a massive chamber, far larger than anything he had seen before, and the human paused at the threshold, awe and apprehension warring within him. Towering before them was an ancient gate, its surface etched with alien runes that pulsed faintly with energy. The pattern shimmered and shifted, as if alive, responding to their presence. The air itself felt thick, charged with power, and the ground beneath them vibrated subtly. A quiet hum that matched the rhythm of the alien girl's heartbeat, or perhaps his own, now so in tune with hers that he could hardly tell the difference. She stepped forward first, trembling slightly, but moving with deliberate grace. Her silver glow cast intricate shadows across the gate, highlighting details he had never noticed, intricate symbols, overlapping layers and faint glyphs that seemed to whisper secrets he could almost, but not quite understand. He followed, careful to mirror her rhythm, each step a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had grown between them. The trembling in her hands, once subtle, now pulsed with purpose, guiding him through invisible obstacles that his eyes could not detect. "You must focus," she whispered, her voice vibrating in a way that resonated deep within him. "The gate will test you, your mind, your courage, your trust. All will be challenged, but I will guide you." The human swallowed hard, nodding, even though he barely understood the full meaning of her words. The gate began to react as they approached, panels sliding aside to reveal a series of floating platforms, each suspended by unseen energy. Shadows twisted and shifted unnaturally around them, and faint alien sounds filled the air, a chorus of whispers, creaks, and low hums that seemed almost like a language he could not yet decipher. Every instinct screamed caution, but her calm presence, the subtle tremble that still pulsed with guidance, reassured him as he stepped onto the first platform. It shivered under his weight, responding to his touch as though testing him. Whispered softly, almost intimately, "Move with the rhythm. Trust the energy." Her trembling seemed to synchronize with the platform, a pulse he could feel through the soles of his boots. He realized the trial was not only physical but mental. The gate was alive in a way, responding to fear, hesitation, and uncertainty. He focused, letting the resonance guide him, and the next platform shifted smoothly under his feet. A wrong step could have sent him plummeting, yet her whispers, her trembles, and the subtle glow of her form kept him aligned. He began to understand the delicate dance, the push and pull of trust, the unspoken communication that flowed between them. Every shiver, every whispered syllable was a clue, a lifeline. Midway across the chamber, an energy barrier rose suddenly between him and the next platform, crackling with power. His breath caught and he froze, unsure how to proceed. The alien girl's glow flared briefly, hands trembling but raised as if guiding him. "Focus. Listen to my voice," she whispered. Her tone carried authority and reassurance, and without fully understanding why, he obeyed, aligning his steps with the subtle cadence of her trembles and the rhythm of the surrounding energy. Slowly, the barrier dissipated, and he stepped forward, pulse hammering in his chest. Finally, they reached the far side of the chamber, where a pedestal waited, glowing faintly with the same energy that pulsed through the runes of the gate. She approached it first, trembling slightly, and whispered, "Place your hand here. You are ready." The human hesitated, sensing the significance of this final act. Every fiber of his being warned him that this was more than just a platform or a gate. It was a threshold, a test that would define everything to come. He placed his hand on the pedestal. A surge of energy shot through him, tingling, electrifying, and yet strangely comforting. Colors, shapes, and patterns flashed across his vision, fragments of alien knowledge and logic that he could barely comprehend. The trembling in her voice and body intensified, a mirrored pulse that connected them, in ways he had never imagined. The bond, already strong, seemed to solidify in that instant. He could feel her awareness mingling with his own, shared rhythm that transcended words. She stepped closer, trembling now, more subtly, but with a quiet confidence. "You see now?" she whispered. "The gate tests more than your body. It tests your mind, your courage, your trust, and the bond between us. You are ready to move forward. But remember, the path ahead will demand more than survival. It will demand connection." The human exhaled, heart racing, yet a sense of clarity settled over him. The gate had tested him, and though he had faltered, her guidance and the bond between them had carried him through. He realized that the alien girl's trembling was no longer a sign of fear or uncertainty. It was a rhythm, a guide, a measure of both challenge and trust, as they moved together toward the next corridor. Deeper into the alien structure, he understood the truth. The trial had only just begun, and every whisper, every tremble, every pulse of her glow would be the key to surviving what lay ahead. The gate had tested them both, and now their connection was the only thing that would keep them alive. The human followed her through the winding corridors, each step resonating with the pulse of the alien structure and the subtle trembles that had become his guide. The air grew warmer, tinged with an unfamiliar energy that made the hairs on his arms stand up. He had begun to feel the alien girl's presence, not just around him, but within him, as if her awareness, her whispers, and even her quivering form were tuning his mind to perceive the world in ways he had never imagined. He realized with growing awe and unease that the connection between them had deepened far beyond simple guidance. They entered a chamber larger than any they had traversed before. Its walls shimmered with layers of energy, flowing in patterns that seemed alive, twisting and reforming at a rhythm that echoed faintly in his own heartbeat. At the center floated a crystalline structure, glowing with an intensity that made him squint. He instinctively stepped closer, drawn by a mix of fear, curiosity, something unexplainable, a sense that everything he had learned so far was merely preparation. The alien girl's glow brightened as she moved beside him, trembling faintly, but with deliberate control. "This is the heart," she whispered, voice quivering yet firm. "Here is where truth is revealed." He stared, sensing that what awaited him would change everything he thought he knew, not just about her, but about the world, the structure, and perhaps even himself. Suddenly, the crystalline structure pulsed, and waves of light expanded outward. Images and flashes of thought invaded his mind. Fragments of alien logic, history, and memory that were impossible to decipher fully, yet somehow familiar. He realized then that she was more than a guide. She was a consciousness, a living intelligence, connected to the alien civilization that had created this labyrinth. Her whispers, her trembling, her guidance, everything had been a conduit, transferring knowledge, energy, and awareness to him. You're not just leading me," he whispered, voice trembling. "You're teaching me, or sharing yourself." She nodded, her form glowing brighter, trembling in resonance with the pulses from the crystalline heart. "I am bound to this place, to this knowledge, and now you are ready to share it. That is why I said, we're ready now." Her voice quivered with emotion, a mixture of relief, anticipation, and perhaps even pride. The trembles that had once seemed mysterious or uncertain were now a reflection of her connection to him, an affirmation of the bond that had grown between Them, the realization hit him fully. This was no ordinary journey. The structure had tested him physically and mentally, yes, but the true trial was the awakening of awareness. The recognition of the connection between life forms, minds, and energy beyond his own species. She had chosen to bind herself to him, just as he had learned to attune to her guidance. Their bond was the key, and it could not be broken. He stepped closer to her, feeling the hum of energy between them. "What happens now?" he asked softly, unsure if he could handle the truth. She was about to reveal. Her trembling lessened slightly, replaced by a calm certainty. "Now," she whispered, "you must decide. To accept what has been shared, to carry it forward, or to reject it and remain as you were. Your choice will shape not only your path, but the fate of what lies beyond this place." Her silver eyes locked onto his, glowing softly, and he felt the weight of the decision pressing down. It's heavy yet liberating. The human hesitated, heart racing. The bond between them pulsed stronger with every second, a living rhythm that made it impossible to turn away. He realized that to refuse would not be simple. Her presence, her guidance, her whispers, everything had changed him already. The trembling of her body, once a subtle cue in a mysterious trial, had become a bridge between them, connecting their awareness and solidifying the choice that was now inevitable. With a deep breath, he reached out and placed his hand near hers, feeling the glow of her energy wash over him, harmonizing with his own pulse. The crystalline heart responded, pulsing brighter, showering them both in light. And in that moment, the revelation became clear. She was not just a guide or a companion. She was a sentient consciousness, a legacy of an advanced civilization. And through their bond, he had been invited to inherit knowledge, insight, responsibility far beyond his understanding. The alien girl's whisper returned, faint but unwavering. "You are ready now. Accept it, and we move forward together." He nodded, heart pounding, aware that his decision would change everything. As the chamber pulsed around them, he realized the depth of their connection, the significance of the bond, and the extraordinary path that lay ahead. The revelation was complete. Survival was no longer the only goal. Understanding, trust, and the choice to embrace the unknown had become the true test. And as he accepted the responsibility offered to him, the alien girl's trembling eased, replaced by a quiet radiance, affirming that together they were ready for what awaited beyond the next threshold. The human stood before the crystalline heart, the glow of the chamber casting long, flickering shadows across the walls. His pulse raced, synchronized with the alien energy that hummed through the air, and he could feel the rhythm of her presence, vibrating within him. The alien girl hovered nearby, trembling lightly, but now her quivers were not from fear, but anticipation. Every whisper she had shared, every subtle tremble, had led to this moment, the choice that would define their fate and the destiny of what lay beyond the alien structure. "You understand now?" she whispered, her voice steady yet infused with emotion. "The knowledge, the connection, the power. All of it can be yours, but you must decide." The words resonated deep within him. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his chest, a mixture of fear, excitement, and awe. He realized that to step forward was to embrace the unknown, to bind himself not only to her, but to a legacy that transcended his species and the world he had known. His thoughts raced. Could he handle such a burden? Could he accept a connection that would forever change the way he perceived reality, the universe, and himself? Yet the longer he hesitated, the more he felt her presence, strong, patient, unwavering, guiding him, encouraging him. The trembling in her form had become a language he understood. Each subtle quiver was now a signal of trust, of shared destiny. "I accept," he whispered, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. As soon as he spoke the words, the crystalline heart pulsed violently, bathing the chamber in radiant light. The alien girl's glow flared, trembling now in synchrony with him, as if their combined presence was completing a circuit far larger than either could comprehend. Colors and patterns danced in his vision, flashes of insight, knowledge, and history flowing into him. He felt the connection solidify, a bond that was no longer one-sided but shared, a bridge between consciousnesses that defied language. The chamber vibrated softly, harmonizing with the rhythm of their joined pulses. He could sense her thoughts, not as words, but as impressions, emotions, and images, and in turn, she could sense his. The alien girl's trembling eased into a steady glow, radiating calm and warmth. The bond was complete. Kay were no longer guide and follower. They were partners, connected in mind, purpose, and fate. "Now you understand," she whispered, voice serene. The trial was never about survival alone. It was about trust, courage, and connection. "You are ready to move forward together." Nodded, feeling a mixture of triumph, wonder, and humility. The chamber's light dimmed slightly, shifting into patterns that resembled constellations, cosmic maps of paths and possibilities. He understood, in a way words could not express, that their journey was far from over. The choice he had made would shape not only their immediate future, but the fate of worlds yet unseen, civilizations yet unspoken, and the legacy of the alien. Intelligence she embodied, as they stepped forward together. Leaving the crystalline heart behind, he felt the final echo of her whisper, "You are ready now." The words, once mysterious and enigmatic, now carried certainty and promise. He was no longer merely a visitor in this alien realm. He was a participant, a partner, and a bearer of knowledge that would challenge everything he had known. The human glanced at her, and for the first time he saw not only a guide, but a companion. A being whose trembling had once signaled uncertainty, but now signaled shared purpose. Their bond was unbreakable, forged through trials, whispers, and the choices that had defined them both. Together, they moved into the unknown, ready for whatever awaited, aware that the universe had opened itself to them, and that their story was only beginning. And as the alien chamber faded behind them, leaving a soft hum of energy in its wake, he understood the truth. The journey ahead would test them, challenge them, and transform them. But now, bound by trust, courage, and connection, he knew that they would face it together, ready for the vast, mysterious universe that stretched before them.